Welcome back to the digital revolution. And today we're cutting straight to the uncomfortable truth about AI in the enterprise. Because here's the reality. Most AI initiatives don't fail because the technology isn't ready. They fail because the organization isn't ready. Unclear goals, data that's scattered, siloed, or simply not usable. You have teams that aren't aligned on what success even looks like. These are silent killers. The reason so many AI projects stall, so many drift, or quietly disappear into the corporate graveyard of good ideas that never delivered. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be that way. Today's guest has built a career proving that AI can work and work fast when companies approach it with clarity, with discipline, and a focus on measurable outcomes. Marvin J. Martinez is a co-founder of Bandsaw.ai, a company dedicated to one mission, helping organizations operationalize AI with clarity, with speed, and real business impact. Marvin doesn't just deal in hype, he deals in results. And his playbook is refreshingly practical. It's a roadmap any organization can follow to turn AI from a buzzword into a competitive advantage. In this episode, we're going to unpack that playbook, why AI initiatives stall, what successful teams do differently, and how you can build AI systems that actually deliver value, not someday, but right now. So settle in. This is an episode for leaders who are done experimenting and they're ready to start winning with AI. Let's get into this. Marvin, welcome. I appreciate you being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Jim, for having me. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes. For the audience, if you could do a favor, I mentioned about your background and everything like that. Is there a little bit more detail that you could provide about yourself and also too about your company?
Yes, I have been in the operations side of the businesses for over 13 years, working with multiple teams from recruiting, QA, training, HR. And I was in charge of just putting together the workflows, the SOPs, the step-by-step guides to make the business successful. That's what I used to do. And I've been doing that for over 13 years. And then when this all AI boom came on, I realized that I could just put AI into all that workflow, into all those processes. So I decided to co-found Bandsaw.ai. And what we do is to help US businesses in the service industry where you provide customer care or customer service to just save time, 10 up to 30 hours per week, just by implementing AI in those workflows. And we do that in just 10 days. So that's my background. I have a lot of experience, the in and outs for service companies.
Yes, you definitely do. And I had the opportunity in doing, a professional background research on yourself and also related to Bandsaw, taking a look. And the one thing that kind of really resonated with me is one of your core principles. And that principle is that AI must solve a real business problem. Because I think, Marvin, you and I recognize that AI is not a technology project. It's really about business transformation, and AI is that lever. And what it does is it really helps to kind of bring out companies, and especially when it comes to them for the customer experience and even solving some of the problems that they have. Let's talk a little bit about a concept that that I noticed related to Bandsaw that says one problem, one win in that role when it comes to delivering let's say small deliver value fast and scale type of solutions. Can you provide some background related to dealing with problems and then that one win rule?
Yeah, when I first started getting into AI and how AI fits into operations, one of the things that I noticed is that most companies, most businesses, they just try to implement AI using tools. Just going there, and you will hear a lot about Cloud Code, Codex, Gemini, anti-gravity, and everything looks cool. But now the problem is, how do we tie that into your company? And for me, AI really needs to resolve a problem that your company has. So think about this. AI only works when it is tied to something that the business already cares about. Let me give you some examples. That could be revenue. Wouldn't you like to have AI help you to increase your revenue without you adding more headcount to your company? Or let's talk about time. Maybe the repetitive tasks that you do every week takes you 4 hours of admin time. How about reducing that 2 hours down to 30 minutes? That is a real win. Maybe customer experience. Maybe you are getting a lot of customer questions about your product and you are losing the opportunity to serve them because you are not uh, good enough at answering on time. And maybe you have a lead that came to your website, filled out a form, and they never heard back from you, but until 2 days after. At that moment, that customer already looked for another option for another company. So instead of the company asking, hey, what can AI do? Right? The better question is, where are we losing time or money every day? That is where the opportunity lies. And I follow a simple rule. When you think about all your problems, think about the problem that takes you most time and that it's easier to resolve when you add the AI to it. One problem, one win, one thing at a time. That's my core principle.
That is a great core principle. And another area too, and really looking at, your philosophy is dealing in data readiness without over engineering. And one of your practical views on data that I discovered is that, you don't need perfect data. Your philosophy is that you really don't need perfect data. You need useful data. And when it comes to really assessing data, what are some of the things that, companies should do to assess their data, but also to look at how they should, I guess, position their data through, let's say, maybe through Bandsaw AI on the approach on how they should utilize that data to be able to improve the right, their foundation on AI.
When I speak to business owners, one of the patterns that I see is that they think they need perfect data.
Mhm.
What does data even mean in some cases? I work with a lot of service businesses owners, and they already have data that they don't even know they have. Let me give you some examples. Every company, they have emails, emails from customers that are asking questions and the responses they send back. So you see a pattern on the way that they respond. You have to acknowledge the issue, you have to refer to the knowledge base, then you have to provide a solution or an alternative if the solution doesn't exist. But there's a pattern and there's data out there. Another example, every company should have a CRM system where they keep track of their customer database. Some companies use HubSpot, some other ones use Salesforce, maybe Airtable, or even simpler, maybe just a Google Sheet or an Excel file with the uh, database of your customers. That's valuable data out there. One last example, you have spreadsheets that contain information about what you do, the transactions that you've done in the past week or in the past month. So all that data, it's there. Maybe it's messy, but it is usable. So the key when you start implementing AI is using that data that you have available. It doesn't have to be perfect. Think about a customer service AI solution that answers your customers. How do we use that data? So we look at your patterns, the way that you respond, and you have to feed the AI system with that pattern. And that's how you use data. And you start little by little. Once you start doing that implementation, if you don't like the answers that the AI solution is providing, then you retrain it. But you already have a base of things that you can use to train your AI. And that's why it is important. Again, my recommendation for the audience and business owners is just to start with what you have. You have to build something small, and then you improve the data as you go, right? You have to start taking action. That's my advice for the audience.
That's great advice. It is so true. When you really look at data, you're never going to have perfect data, but you use what you got and then you improve the quality as you move along because you're going to be able to do it. But you're also going to be able to fund your business through that process. Now we talked a lot about, data. We talked a little bit about AI, obviously, but the real question that a lot of people have is related to the human element. And you're going to have different teams that are in a business. It could be a large business or a small or medium sized business. And a lot of the times you need to have that alignment before you start to deploy technology or even deploying AI. And when you really look at the success of AI, it is really successful, and it's dependent really more on the people in these teams and not, let's say, the models or the platforms that the AI is on. Now, how would you advise, business leaders to communicate the AI's purpose, and especially in reducing fear and resistance that might be from, members of those different teams?
That's an interesting point of view because look at social media, for instance. If I go to LinkedIn, you will see a lot of people saying, hey, I replaced my entire marketing team using this AI technology, service, tool, whatever, right? And I can bet that there will be a lot of people in the marketing side that will say, oh my God, AI is going to replace me. I have a golden rule before we start about or before we talk about implementation. AI will never do 100% of the role. There must be a human involved at some point during the entire process. My ideal distribution is 60% done by AI or 60% process, 20% AI, and the rest is going to be human intervention. A human will always be needed. And when I have implemented systems or AI systems in companies, the way that the leader conveys this information to the employees, it's really critical. Again, most people would say, hey, is this going to replace me? Or maybe the opposite, is this going to create more work? So if that's the case, adoption will be very, very hard. So for me, the fix is really simple. Number one, if you are a business owner listening to this, you have to be clear about the goal. What will this AI system give me? Will this reduce my response time to my customers? And that's the end goal. Will this ensure that I don't lose any appointments because this is a system reminder or a reminder system for my customers and they get a text message one day before? Or maybe, I use this system to qualify my leads, but my system doesn't close the sale. So you have to be very clear as to what your goal is going to be. Two, show your people how this is going to help them. People don't realize, but using AI in their day-to-day can reduce their job workload in about 50, 60, 70%, depending how good you use AI. So you have to be clear in how they will be or how it will be beneficial to them. But the most important, and this is key, involve your team. They are the experts. I really like mapping the process before you implement AI. So my recommendation is go to your team and ask them, hey, can you show me how you do the process?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what's the first step, the second step? And then when you start implementing the system, show it to them. Hey, this is the AI system or the AI automation workflow. How is this looking for you? Is this resolving your issue? What do you think of the answer that the AI provided? If you involve your team soon in the process, they will be more likely to implement or not to implement, but at least to be positive about implementation. So talk to your people. AI is not going to replace anyone. It's just going to make your work easier, and it's going to amplify what you already have.
Yeah, I love that approach because it's really about your work will be augmented with AI, and it's that collaboration between the human and the AI, obviously. And then, to your point, it can free up a company, it could free up an employee to maybe have some new skills developed. And I think when you look at all of the different types of industrial revolutions we have, at one time you had artisans who made things, and then you had an industrial revolution where you had machines making things. And we've seen it also now that we're moving into through a digital transformation where AI is in itself, it's a new kind of a industrial revolution, but more of a data revolution when it comes to utilizing, let's say, an AI revolution. But what I liked also too, what you talked about was the importance of involving the teams, but also in a way, you're creating AI champions that are within inside that business. And then by getting those frontline workers involved early, they could also be part of that process for implementation and improving. As you mentioned earlier, it could be the data or even the processes and procedures where AI and humans work together. Let's go and talk about your practical playbook and on the, let's say, an implementation strategy. And what I, through the research I did on your practical playbook, is that you're looking at really issuing or establishing a clear and it's a repeatable sequence that companies can follow. Now, the first thing I noticed on the playbook was, to define the business outcome and not the model. What do you mean by define the business outcome?
That's an interesting question. Think about this. What is my first step in implementing an AI solution? And when you talk about an AI solution, it could be a workflow, an automation, an AI agent, depending on your needs. So the first question is, what exactly are we trying to improve?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly do we need to eliminate? And let me give you an example. I was speaking with a staffing firm like a couple of months ago, and they were telling me, hey, when we hire someone, what we have to do is we have to take their information, we have to put it in our ATS system, then we have to put the same information into our CRM system. And then we have to put that information into these other systems. So it was the same action 3 times in 3 different systems. And they were telling me, hey, we have made mistakes in the past because we have a human copy and pasting the information, and it is taking me about 15 minutes to do all that. Right. So when I was talking to them, we were thinking about, we want to save time and we want to reduce the errors. And that's the first step, thinking about what you want to accomplish. And once we determine that, we move on to the next step, right? What is the second step in the playbook? Map the process. So, what is step number one? Where does the data come from? How does the data come in? And how is the data getting transformed? Through which steps and who does each step? So I sat down with that staffing company, and we studying, just like little kids, drawing boxes and doing a diagram and saying, hey, step one, step two, step three. And you will be surprised about this. In this entire workflow, 90% of the entire process was already mapped, meaning like we didn't have to use AI to do that. We only had to connect the different systems and CRMs. We only used AI in 10% of the entire workflow. So that's why it is critical to map your workflows before implementing any AI solutions. And I go back to the previous question. How do you map your workflow? Talk to your team. They are your experts. If you are a business owner, you will have the vision, right? That is 100% true. But your operators, the people that are doing the job, they will do the job better than you, and they will know exactly what steps to follow for each incoming question from every customer, for instance. So mapping your process is the step number two. Now, after mapping your process and understanding your outcome, the third step is build a quick version. We call it MVP. Just build your MVP, make it simple, and start iterating. One of the things that we do at Bandsaw.ai is that we can help you implement your first AI solution in just 10 days. From the moment that we get into a call and we understand your requirements, your tools, then we implement your first MVP in just 10 days so that you can start iterating and trying it and see if it works, see the first outcomes. So start early. Don't make it complicated. Don't try to build the entire application in just one build. Just do one feature at a time. That's the best way of building AI solutions. Fourth, measure your results. So if you were taking 15 minutes to process one candidate through the three different systems, then how much time is it being invested now that we implemented the solution? Is it, 5 minutes, 2 minutes? And that difference is going to be your return of investment. And lastly, when you feel that everything is going in a good track, then you're good to move on and scaling it. Maybe adding an additional feature, maybe adding some edge cases, because you will notice, like in every company, if you go to the procedures and processes or knowledge base, there will be always exceptions to the processes. And that's what we know as edge cases in the AI world. So you will not know those like at the very start. So that's going to be your last step. If you follow this every time that you want to implement an AI solution, an automation, a workflow, an AI agent, that's how you're going to be successful.
That is a great plan. That is an excellent plan. Let me ask you in this next segment. Let's talk about some of the common pitfalls that you routinely see out there. I think one you threw out early was talking about kind of buying into some type of an AI tool or platform before you really define what your goal is. What are some of the routine or common pitfalls that you find businesses falling into?
Oh, I've seen a lot, and I have also made some big mistakes when I was studying and good learnings from it. So the first one is trying to resolve a lot of things at once. I have spoken with people, and they say with business owners, I'm sorry, and they say, I want to automate my social media. I want to automate my LinkedIn posting. I also want to automate my sales outreach. I also want to have a customer service agent in my website. They have so many things and so many good ideas, don't get me wrong, in mind, but you cannot do everything at the same time. You have to pick the smallest win or the one that it's keeping you up at night, the one that is taking you the most time every week, the process that repeats a lot every week. That's what you should pick first. But if you are trying to like save the world in just one project, that's not going to work, and that's going to be a huge mistake. I have seen people that they have been told that they need 6 months for the first AI implementation because they want to do so many things. And at Bandsaw.ai, we just take 10 days because we start by making it simple for you as the owner of the business. A second pitfall that I see is buying tools before defining the problem. You will see a lot of tools out there in social media. And if you do a Google search or if you do an AI search, you will see a lot of tools to do email outreach. You will, find a lot of tools to create social media, to AI voice agents. So there's a lot of tools out there. But before you decide to buy anything, just define your problem. Again, and I go back to it. What is keeping you up all night? I was speaking with a real estate company just the other day, and they were telling me, "Hey, we have two hires, two people that are working full time just to answer questions from our customers. And that's crazy because you cannot have someone 24/7 to answer questions unless you use AI. And they were telling me, sometimes we take more than 10 minutes to reply back to the customer. And by that time, they are no longer interested because it wasn't a real estate company and it was about renting places in Airbnb. And that's what we're working. But they were aware of what was keeping them up and what is that repetitive action that they can automate. And the last pitfall is just not measuring results. So what that means is you implement an AI solution. How do you know that worked? Like, how do you know that it was successful? Is it just because you can say, hey, I have AI in my business? Is that what makes it successful? If that's what it is, then you're doing it wrong. You have to make sure that everything that you implement with AI, any AI agent, AI workflow resolves your issue, and you have to measure the before and the after. For instance, you can say, hey, before it used to take me 1 hour or two to reach out to a customer that asked for my service. And now it's taking me 60 seconds. That's your ROI right there. So if you don't measure results, then there's no way that you will see how valuable AI is in your business. So those are three, which are the most common ones that I have come across.
Excellent, excellent. To go back to the real estate agency you talked about, that's a great example related to how Bandsaw.ai works. And you talked about they're getting these phone calls, so a lot of repetitive workflow there that you're able to tackle with AI, but also too in the response, a quicker response that's going to enhance the customer support by using intelligent assistants. And it could be for actual, potential clients, or maybe it's just answering questions to get to potential clients and opportunities. But also, you're improving operational efficiency by that feedback system, that data that's going into the AI for predictive insights. So, what I like the approach with Bandsaw is that you said start small. Don't do these lofty, long-winded, scopes that take 6 months, a year, or more to move forward. Start small, have a faster validation, and then scale it as you're going along. That is a great approach for success.
Yes. And my most successful clients, that's what they have done. Let's try it. Let's see how it works. Let's see how people react. And then take it from there. And if we talk about real use case scenarios that I have built for my customers, I can give you more examples.
Got it. And right now, we're into the second quarter of 2026. You're talking to a lot of business leaders out there. What type of advice are you giving leaders in this time of 2026 when it comes to AI?
Well, when you think about AI, stop thinking about AI as a capability and start thinking of it as an operating model. The question is not what can AI do? The question is how should workflow in this business and where should AI sit inside that? Think about your business as a workflow, and and I like to make it simple for business owners. Step one, step two, step three. Are any of these steps um, like an opportunity to have AI take care of that? If the answer is yes, let's go for it. If the answer is no, then just don't do it. There's no need for you to do it, right? So for me, when speaking with a lot of business owners, they have a hard time sometimes explaining how they do things because most of the processes it's inside their heads. They know how to do the job right. They are experts at what they do, but they don't have it written down. So when we want to do an AI implementation, it fails because they only know it for themselves, right? And that's my recommendation. Just think about AI as as something like an additional operating model that can fit into your current workflow.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And to kind of close out our conversation, for me, when it comes to an AI implementation checklist, based on our conversation and also to my research on Bandsaw, the first thing I wrote down was, start with a real business problem. And to what you said is, just don't tackle everything, tackle maybe a singular business problem. The important thing that you stressed early in our conversation was use the data you already have and then move into, once you have everything kind of defined out as what you want to do, you're going to prototype that fast, and then you're going to validate that fast. You're going to involve the people on the teams to make them champions, to make them included, involved in the process and the planning of it. KPIs or measurements, those are very important for you, so you can look at what value is. And you also obviously have to be able to define what value means. It could be gains in efficiency, generating revenue, or whatever it might be. And then I think the most important thing is scale only after proving impact. And I think that is the perfect checklist. Is there anything that my checklist I kind of marked down that maybe I missed or misinterpreted, let's say, in looking at what your practical guidance is?
Well, I think that you have done a great job summarizing it, Jim. I just want to give you like an example of a successful client that we had. It was a locksmith company located in the United States. And what they were telling me is that sometimes they were out in the field and people would call to get a quote on the service and they could not pick up the phone call. So they missed that client. So they have that missed call. When I asked them, hey, how many missed calls are you having like per week? So they were saying, well, it may be one or two. It doesn't sound like much, right? And then I asked him, hey, and how much is your service call? Let's imagine that you answer that phone call and then you arrange a visit with that customer. So he was telling me that his service call fee was $150. So if you do $150 one time per week, so that means that you are losing $600 per month just by not answering one phone call. And if you extrapolate that into a year, we're talking about $7,200 that he's missing just for not answering one phone call, when he was on duty. So what we did was to build an AI system that would answer the phone call only if he does not answer it himself. One of his concerns was, I don't want AI to take over the way I serve my customers and I speak with my customers. So I told him, that's fair, right? So we can activate this AI agent when you lose the call or when you miss the call, that's fine. And the other thing that we did is the AI will only answer the phone call and will tell the person, hey, our owner or our locksmith is currently on a job. Let me take your information so that we can call you back. And the AI would only take the information from the person's name, last name, phone number, and issue. And that information goes to the owner via text message, and the owner can give a call back as soon as he's done. Right? So that's an exact example where AI will not replace you. Yes. You can use AI based on your needs and your preference as a business owner. And we implemented it really easy because this person knew exactly what he wanted. He knew his process. And without knowing it, he's now saving $150 per week, which it doesn't sound much, but when you do it per year, it's a lot of money that he's not leaving in the table.
Excellent, excellent. So for everyone listening, this is a great call to action. What I would like everyone to do is to reflect on one workflow in your business that could benefit from AI, and especially with this episode, what Marvin covered regarding his playbook and also what he's recommending, and with Bandsaw AI, is to come up with one of those workflows and maybe even have that conversation with Marvin or Bandsaw. And I'll make sure definitely in the description for the episode, I will have Bandsaw's site address and also a link so that you can connect to Marvin as well professionally. And I highly encourage everyone to check out Bandsaw.ai. Marvin, in closing, is there anything that you would want to leave to the listeners and followers of this podcast?
My last message to you guys is if you are feeling overwhelmed with this AI hype, you are not alone. I hear this from a lot of people that I talk to every day. And my advice is just think about your business and the processes that you have. You don't have to implement AI because you want to sound cool. You want to implement AI because you have a lot of pain in doing the same thing every day, and it's taking you a lot of time. Think about that, reflect that, and if you don't know where to start, well, that's why we're here for. I already did 13 years in operations, so I know exactly how you feel, and I've done over 1,000 hours implementing and trying AI solutions so that you don't have to.
Excellent, excellent. Everyone, please make sure you do check out Bandsaw.ai and also connect with Marvin as well. Please share this episode with anyone who will get value out of listening to it. And please make sure that you are following the Digital Revolution with Jim Kunkel, the podcast. It's on all the major podcasting platforms, because with this podcast series, you're going to get more expert-driven insights. And also, too, like I said, make sure you check out Bandsaw.ai. Marvin, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim. It has been a pleasure.